You are exhausted because you have spent your entire life silently morphing into the exact shape of other people's lowest expectations of you. You feel like a fraud in your own skin, acting out a script you never asked to read, trapped in a story that is suffocating your soul. Before we explore how to break this invisible curse, take a quiet breath and subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding so we can continue these late-night conversations. It starts so subtly that you do not even notice the walls closing in around you. Think of a room where the ceiling lowers by 1 millimeter every single day. At first you stand tall, proud, and entirely unaware of the shifting architecture. Then, as the weeks pass, you find yourself slightly bowing your head just to avoid the friction. Eventually, you are crawling on the floor, your knees bruised, and the most tragic part is that you have completely convinced yourself that crawling is simply the way you were always meant to move. This is exactly what happens when you live under the gaze of those who anticipate your failure, your mediocrity, or your weakness. Have you ever noticed how around certain people you become incredibly clumsy? Your words stumble in your mouth, and your mind goes completely blank like an abandoned house. You feel a heavy, damp wool coat resting on your shoulders, pulling you toward the earth. You try to be brilliant, you try to speak with absolute clarity, but an invisible gravity pulls you down into the very mud they expect you to walk in. Think about the people who raised you, or the partners who claimed to love you, but only loved the small, controllable version of you. They placed you in a psychological terrarium, a glass box that looked like a safe home, but was actually a stifling prison. Every time you reached for the glass, trying to grow beyond the strict boundaries they set, they tapped on the glass. They reminded you of your past mistakes. They brought up old failures. They subtly questioned your ambition, disguising their control as loving concern. And so you pulled your hand back. You learned to stay small, to regulate your own growth to match the limited, shallow soil they provided. I have watched this psychological phenomenon unfold so many times in the quiet corners of everyday life. I have seen brilliant, vibrant minds wither and curl at the edges like neglected houseplants, simply because they were placed in a room where no one believed they could bloom. It is a terrifying and disorienting realization that your identity is not entirely your own creation. Your confidence, your spark, and your very life force are being quietly siphoned away by the unsaid judgments of the people surrounding you. They do not even have to speak their dark doubts out loud for the damage to be done. A certain tilt of the head, a specific and heavy silence, a fleeting look of pity or impatience, and your nervous system instantly registers the threat. You start to shrink to fit their assumptions. You absorb their silent verdict, like a dry sponge soaking up dark water. The ultimate tragedy of this dynamic is that you do not blame them, you turn the blade inward and blame yourself. You look in the mirror and you see the exact failure they projected onto you, believing it to be your true and unalterable reflection. You carry a deep, quiet panic in your chest, a relentless drumbeat of anxiety, warning you that you are fundamentally broken, unlovable, and destined to disappoint everyone who crosses your path. This is the heavy, brutal backpack you have been carrying for dozens of kilometers. You have been walking down a foggy, desolate road, carrying sharp stones that do not even belong to you, bleeding for a cause you never chose. Every time you try to step forward and change your life, the thick mud of their assumptions pulls at your boots, threatening to swallow you whole. It is exhausting on a cellular level. It is a quiet agony that drains the vibrant colour from your days and leaves you staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night, listening to your own heartbeat, wondering why everything feels so impossibly hard and heavy. But here is the profound secret I uncovered when I started looking very closely at the invisible threads connecting our minds in the dark. We are not carved from solid stone, doomed to remain in one rigid shape forever. We are entirely fluid, like water poured into a fragile glass vessel. The vessel is the expectation of the person looking at us. Water does not apologize for taking the shape of the cup. It is the nature of water to adapt. But what happens when the cup is emptied into the vast, endless ocean? The narrow boundaries dissolve instantly. You are that water. You have been poured into thimbles and shot glasses, told that your depth is only a few centimeters. But your true nature is the ocean. I realized that human reality is breathtakingly malleable. I have spent countless nights observing this subtle alchemy of human interaction. I have seen how a single, genuine look of belief can alter the chemistry of a brain faster than any medicine. When someone genuinely expects you to be brilliant, when their gaze holds a quiet, unshakable faith in your limitless potential, a physical and emotional transformation occurs deep within you. It is as if a rusted, locked door inside your chest suddenly swings open, revealing a sunlit garden you forgot existed. I remember watching a person who was completely crushed by the weight of life, stammering and shrinking in the shadows, hoping to remain unseen. Then, by a twist of fate, they were placed under the care of someone who looked at them as if they were already a priceless masterpiece. The change was not gradual or subtle, it was explosive and undeniable. Within a matter of days, their posture straightened, as if an invisible golden string were pulling them toward the sky. Their voice found its deep, natural resonance. They began to speak with a clarity, a grace, and a commanding power that they did not even know they possessed within their own lungs. When someone looks at you and expects you to be a force of nature, you stop apologizing for the storm inside you. You start to harness the lightning. I saw clearly then that the expectation of another human being acts like an invisible, towering scaffolding. When the scaffolding reaches high into the limitless sky, you climb it effortlessly, hand over hand. You rise naturally to meet the exact height of the belief placed upon you. The crippling anxiety you feel right now, the tightness in your throat, is not a symptom of your inadequacy or a sign that you are failing. It is simply the fierce friction of your beautiful soul fighting against a terribly low ceiling. You are desperately trying to grow a towering ancient oak tree inside a small, dark, windowless closet. Of course it hurts. Of course you feel twisted, stunted, and suffocated. But the problem is not the seed. The problem has always been the enclosure. You have been heavily conditioned to believe that you must prove your worth to change how people see you. But the brutal, hidden truth of human nature is that how people see you often dictates what you are actually capable of proving. The human mind is a mirror, polishing itself to reflect whatever stands in front of it. It is a self-fulfilling cycle that can either drown you in the dark depths or elevate you to the clouds. If you remain in environments where people expect you to be anxious, you will automatically produce anxiety to fulfill their prophecy. If they expect you to fail, your own subconscious mind will secretly sabotage your best efforts just to keep the social harmony intact. Because as human beings, we are desperately wired to belong, even if it means belonging to a miserable narrative of defeat. We would rather be comfortably numb in a shared failure than face the terrifying isolation of individual success. Once you truly understand this hidden dynamic, the illusion shatters into 1,000 pieces. You realize that you have been reading from the wrong script for decades. You are not the awkward, failing, anxious, broken character they cast you as in their petty play. You are just wearing their heavy, ill-fitting costume, sweating under the harsh stage lights of their judgment. And knowing this is your ultimate, undeniable liberation. You can simply choose to take the heavy costume off. If you are enjoying this gentle journey of unburdening your mind and finding your true shape, please subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding, so we can continue to clear away the shadows together. Now, I want you to imagine stepping out of that dark, lowering room and walking out into a vast sunlit meadow where the wind blows warm and sweet. The sky stretches infinitely above you, a perfect, uninterrupted dome of brilliant blue. There are no ceilings here to crush you. There are no walls to box you in. There is only the crisp, clean air filling your lungs, expanding your chest with every breath. This is exactly what it feels like to finally reclaim your own narrative. You no longer have to perform for cruel eyes that secretly want to see you stumble. You possess the absolute power to choose your mirrors. You must consciously begin to surround yourself with people who hold a vision of you that is so high, so pure, and so beautiful that it physically pulls you upward just to meet it. Seek out the warm gaze that expects peace, that anticipates your unshakable strength, and that calmly, patiently waits for your deep wisdom to surface from the waters of your mind. And even more importantly than finding it in others, you must become that very gaze for yourself. You must become the quiet, loving observer in your own mind who expects profound healing. Imagine standing on the shore of a completely still lake at dawn. The water is perfectly flat, like a massive sheet of polished silver reflecting the soft pastel colours of the morning sky. This silent lake is your mind when it is free from the turbulence of other people's expectations. If someone throws a stone of doubt into your lake, you do not have to become the ripple. You can simply let the stone sink quietly to the bottom, untouched and harmless, while the surface of your water returns to absolute, undisturbed glass. You are the sole guardian of your own depths. You hold the sovereign right to reject any projection that does not serve your ultimate peace. Imagine a heavy, intricate clockwork mechanism inside your chest that has been wound far too tight, ticking violently, wearing down its own metal gears, generating exhausting heat and friction. Now imagine a warm, gentle hand resting softly on that mechanism, slowly calming the gears, uncoiling the tight spring, until the frantic ticking becomes a soft, rhythmic, peaceful heartbeat. That healing hand is your new expectation of yourself. You are officially allowed to expect absolute stillness. You are allowed to expect grace, ease, and joy. You no longer have to carry the jagged stones of other people's flawed judgments. Take that heavy, brutal backpack off your tired shoulders right now. Let it drop into the dust and watch the dirt rise around it. Feel the immediate, overwhelming, intoxicating lightness in your limbs. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. It is ancient, firm, and perfectly capable of holding your true weight. You do not need to tiptoe through your own life anymore. You are a majestic bird that has finally realized the heavy iron cage door has been wide open for years. You can simply spread your magnificent wings and leave the rusted bars behind forever, soaring up into the thermals of your own boundless potential. As you listen to the sound of my voice, allow the deep, chronic tension to drain completely from your jaw. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears, and let your hands uncurl into soft, open palms. You are totally safe now. You are walking down a brand new path, a soft dirt trail through a quiet, eternal forest, where the sunlight filters through the green canopy in thick, golden, protective beams. With every single step you take, you are stepping away from the dark past and into a bright reality constructed entirely by love, high expectations, and infinite possibility. You are not the small, anxious creature they said you were. You are the vast, untouchable stillness that remains when all their chaotic voices fade away into nothingness. Breathe in this pure, sweet freedom. Let it settle deep into your marrow, rewriting the code of your very existence. The script is entirely blank now. The old pages have burned to ash, and you, my dear friend, are the only one holding the pen.